of children all around the world. Stay tuned to find
Hola.
out. You see, Wolfoo racks up views whether a single
Oh.
person wanted them or not. That's half the problem
Blue.
with it. My because the
So
answer turns out to
unlimited
explain
cookies
everything
are
else. Wolfoo is a children's cartoon made by a Vietnamese studio called S-Connect. It launched in 2018, and from the very beginning, people noticed it looked extraordinarily familiar. A small animal living with its mum and dad in a little house on a hill, learning gentle lessons about sharing and good manners drawn in flat, simple, primary colours. If that sounds like Peppa Pig to you, well, you're not the only one to think so. The company that owns Peppa thought so too, and in 2022, they took S-Connect to the High Court in London, accusing Wolfoo of being a knockoff. I'm not here to settle that case. It got tangled up in jurisdiction and corporate reshuffles and actually never even produced a clear outcome. And S-Connect actually won several of the surrounding fights. But the reputation stuck for a simple reason. You see, Wolfoo began with a resemblance. The idea, if there ever were one, came afterwards. And that's the part worth holding on to, because everything that comes next, the hundreds of channels, the stolen Thomas, the AI diaper songs, grows out of that one original fact. This was a brand built to the shape of something that already worked. It had nothing of its own underneath. It was empty at the very first frame, and the only open question was what it would fill the emptiness with. But here's the thing that it could never copy. The thing that actually turned out to matter most. Peppa Pig has fans. Children who know the characters by name, own the toys and beg to go to the theme park. Adults have opinions about Peppa. Wolfoo, on the other hand, has nothing like that at all. For all its tens of millions of subscribers, there's no Wolfoo fandom worth the name. And it barely registers as a thing that exists, even among the parents whose kids watch it for hours. Wolfoo may well have copied the house, the family, the look, the gentle little lessons. The only thing it couldn't trace was the part where anybody cared. So, when Wolfoo started leaning on AI, it was the least surprising development of the year. The empty brand met the empty artificial machine, and, unsurprisingly, they got along famously. And the reason is pure arithmetic. Children's content on YouTube barely pays. Thanks to child privacy rules, a made-for-kids video can't run the personalised adverts that make real money, so it earns somewhere around 25 to 35 pence per 1,000 views. When each view is worth so little, you survive in two ways. Make an enormous number of videos and make everyone as cheaply as you can. Wolfoo does both. And if Wolfoo is really gaining billions of views a month across the network at kids' content rates, then the operation is plausibly pulling in millions of pounds a year. It gets there by making something that nobody loves in bulk for almost nothing and then letting the algorithm do the rest. AI removes the last expensive ingredients, which was, of course, the people. And here's where it stops being one weird channel and starts being something harder to get your head around. Because Wolfoo and Friends is only one of the Wolfoo channels. There's also just plain Wolfoo channel and Wolfoo Family official channel, which is somehow not the same as Wolfoo Family. Each one a slightly different flavour of the same nothing. And once you start pulling the thread, you cannot stop, because there is always, and I mean always, one more wolf. Wait, what? Let me pull one of those channels out of the pile. Wolfoo Family Song. 2 million subscribers, perfectly ordinary looking, but something's not quite right. There's a video called Wolfoo Fix Broken Little Thomas Train. It seems to be referring to Thomas the Tank Engine, and Thomas belongs to Mattel, not S-Connect. Elsewhere, there's Wolfoo in a Spider-Man suit, web pattern and all, which belongs to Disney. And then we've got the famous Thomas the Tank Engine bursting out of a Pokeball scene.
Subway's new fresh value menu. 15 different protein pack choices, all for under $5. With new 6-inch deli face, $3.99. Protein pockets, $3.99. And a 6-inch sub of the day, $4.99. Always freshly made, always available every single day.
This should be good. I'm gonna put it a bit bigger. Yeah.
Hit that like button if Thomas the Tank Engine coming out of a Pokeball in a bloody Wolfoo video is the most unhinged thing you've seen this week. Now, there's a special kind of nerve to this because Wolfoo's owners have spent the last 4 years in courtrooms across 3 countries, insisting they were the victims of intellectual property theft. They fought the people who owned Peppa Pig, and in some cases, they were genuinely wronged. Videos struck, channels frozen. They know better than almost anyone else making cartoons what it feels like to have your work taken. And yet, they put a named Thomas the Tank Engine in front of a few million toddlers, the company that cried theft, helping itself to everyone else's characters. Because that's what you do when you have nothing of your own worth using. And this isn't even confined to channels with Wolfoo in the name. There's a sister channel in the same network called
Excuse
Dudeland. 2
me.
million subscribers, and the format is a straight lift from an American channel called Dudeland. 6 million subscribers, billions of views, the whole business being ordinary objects with googly eyes drawn on, panicking as they're about to be destroyed. S-Connect saw it working and so built their own. It's the same instinct that actually produced Wolfoo, only pointed at a different
Let's
target.
do the
But
hints
Dudeland adds its own little flourish,
against
which is that a great many of these videos star SpongeBob. Actual SpongeBob. Paramount's one of the most ferociously guarded characters in American television, named in titles, top of the thumbnails, dropped into the Crash videos by the dozen. One of them, SpongeBob versus a police truck, has 14 million views. I can't tell you for certain whether any of this is actually licensed. It's certainly possible that some arrangements exist that I don't know about. But given this company praised Peppa, seemingly borrowed Thomas, and dressed its wolf as Spider-Man, a quietly negotiated SpongeBob deal would certainly be a surprise, not the norm. And here's to tell, the thing that runs underneath this whole story. 14 million views, and you go to the comments expecting an audience. And yet, what you find is one person has clocked exactly what this is. I love this show, but it is a rip-off to Dudeland. Another fan begs for less of it, saying, I wish this was without SpongeBob so I can watch it in quiet. Millions of views, and the warmest thing that people can say is a request to turn it down. Which, again, tells you that the views were the easy part, the wanting actually never existed at all. So, that's the pattern. A company that built its whole image around being the victim, the small studio bullied by a Western giant, while helping itself to half of children's television on the side.
Okay.
And it tells you why there have to be hundreds of channels. When you have nothing of your own, no character anyone invented, no story anyone actually wanted to tell, the only way to grow is to take more, dub it into more languages, and open more channels to put it on. The emptiness is the engine. Remember in that wall of channels, there was actually a channel called Wolfoo Re-Up. Re-Up, as in re-upload. There's a children's cartoon channel named after the act of putting videos back, and it's there for a very specific reason. During the Peppa War, thousands of Wolfoo videos got struck and pulled from YouTube, and the operation responded the way it responds to everything, at volume by spreading out. Re-upload the strikes. Open more channels so no single takedown can kill the whole thing. Channels with millions of subscribers and lifetime view counts that make no sense. A few million where there ought to be hundreds of millions, because most of the back catalogue has been deleted, recut, re-uploaded, and then deleted again. What's left reads like a tied line. The mark left by content washing in and out for years, with nobody really minding which videos survived because no single video was ever worth minding. So let me actually look at a few more of these channels in a bit more detail, because the differences between them actually tell you a hell of a lot. There's a cluster of channels doing Wolfoo in 3D. Wolfoo Family Life, Wolfoo Family 3D Animation, a few others. The same characters, the same nursery rhyme titles, rebuilt in glossy, plasticky, three-dimensional models. And I can't lie, they look AI as frick. And AI or otherwise, they're not doing particularly well. One of them has 238 subscribers. Yes, 238. It's posting full-length episodes to an audience that would fit in a classroom, and it keeps posting anywhere because the audience was never really the point. The point is just to exist, to be another channel, in another style, occupying another slot, in case this is the one the algorithm randomly decides to like. And on the main channels, where the actual viewers are, you can watch whoever's behind the channel reach for whatever's trending that particular week. There's a slime phase, because slime does numbers. There's a video about the myth of Medusa for toddlers, complete with a man being turned to
Damn, I'm
screaming
not
stone.
even talking. Abdul Akim. What's this color?
Greek myths were having a moment. And there's a recurring character called Muscle,
Oh my god.
who in one episode, acquires a fan club of admiring girls at a swimming pool, which is a sentence I would have preferred not to assemble. And this bit's important. None of it connects
Yep,
to anything.
yep.
There's no world here,
Okay, no.
no running story. Nothing that amounts to a point of view about anything at all. Just a censor pointed at whatever's popular this week. Feeding a machine that turns
Let's
it into
ignore
11
that.
minutes
Anyways,
of
now for
whatever's trending goes in
color.
one end, and undifferentiated content comes out the other. So then, let me go back
Mr.
to where I
Ginger.
started. That diaper song, the one with 900 views and 3 likes, the one I showed you at the very beginning and called a flop. Go to their channel and look at it now. Because by the time you're watching this, days, maybe a week after I recorded it, one of two things will have happened to that video. It might be gone, deleted, struck, re-uploaded somewhere else under a slightly different name, because that's simply how this operation reads. Or it'll still be there, but it won't be sitting on 900 views anymore. There's a real chance it's on hundreds of thousands. There's even a chance it's done a few million, and it will have got there as the same 11 minutes of machine-made babies it always was, no better than the day it went up. It's climbed up for the reason all of this works. You point enough empty content at enough children for long enough, and the algorithm eventually does the rest. And while you're there, have a look around the channel, because there's a fair chance they'll have borrowed somebody else by then. Maybe Elsa, or whoever was trending the week they needed a thumbnail. You see, Wolfoo has gamed the system without ever being any good at the actual cartoon. It can't even reliably count to 5 on a thumbnail. It won by being nothing at enormous scale in every language across hundreds of channels forever. And nothing, it turns out, is exactly what the machine wants. There was never any betrayal here. No soul that got lost along the way, because there was never anything to lose in
Let's
the
do the
first place.
ice.
And it spent 7 years and 1,000 channels, becoming a more and more efficient shape of nothing at all. And unfortunately for us, unfortunately for YouTube itself, it's winning. Anyhow, go and check that view count. Then tell me in the comments what it's on, and whether they've deleted it or just borrowed something new. I want to know how fast the nothing won, so I'll be waiting. Look forward to seeing those comments, guys. Till next
Okay,
time. Snipe, snap, out.
no. Okay. Yeah. Ew. Okay. Yeah, am I the only one
If you were at
to
school
watch a video
anytime
and
in the
enjoy at the
last
same
10 years
time?
or so, there's likely a sound burned into your brain. That cheerful little ding, someone just got a positive point. And then there's the other one. Negative point. Someone just got done. And the whole class heard it. If that's ringing a bell right now, congratulations, you were a Class Dojo Kids. You had a little monster avatar. You watched your score go up and down on the smartboard while trying to work out long division. Welcome back. We need to talk about what the app was actually doing
Let's
to
do
you.
nose.
Because
You
even if
do
you
this.
loved Class Dojo
You
and
can
have
do
nothing
whatever
but
you
good
want. You can do it
memories,
with that
it was
nose.
actually impacting
Nah,
you
with the
negatively.
mouth.
Hear me out. A mum called Ali, whose 5-year-old son Alex has
Nah,
ADD,
let's skip the
wrote
man.
on an
Let's get
educator's
serious.
blog, "From day one, I have come to hate Class Dojo, as my son seems to get nothing positive out of it. All he gets is negative reminders of his slip-ups. He even started telling her
green.
he didn't want to go to school. I know this is because he is constantly worried about how many dojo points he will get, or will not get, and is constantly focused on the negative feedback he gets from such a system. Sad thing is, that boy was 5. Then there's the case of another little boy who came home crying because he thought he might win the weekly dojo awards, but didn't. Even at bedtime, he was still going. He doesn't understand why the naughty kids get rewards, but he feels invisible. He said there's something wrong with him, and he is very upset. He's not even old enough to tie up his own shoelaces, and he's lying in bed at night thinking he's broken because of Class Dojo. And these stories are buried, completely buried under 5 stars and heart emojis, and teachers saying Class Dojo changed their lives. And I get why. Quick reminder to hit subscribe if you're enjoying the video so far. Thank you, because I loved this app too. Past tense. A few years back, I was teaching English as a foreign language abroad. Class Dojo was already there when I arrived. School policy, part of the furniture, if you will, and giving positive points felt great. Tap the green button, happy sound, kid beams at you. I felt like a proper good teacher, buzzing off it, honestly. Then I had to give my first
Okay,
negative
now
points.
the
And
thing,
that,
the
let's call it
highlight.
K, kept interrupting. Policy was clear. I gave him a
Okay,
negative
so
dojo point. That sad sound played throughout the entire classroom. K's face dropped. He looked around at his mates. His score went down on the
Okay.
board where everyone could see. He was
I
about
usually get
8,
the version
and I felt
kind of pat,
rotten. I told myself he'd been warned and tried to move on. Over time, the guilt
Amazing.
faded. But
I
tapping
always
that
do
button
this.
became
Oh
a
my god, my
reflex.
voice.
I told myself it was fine because it was what everyone else did. After I left teaching, I started seeing stories like Ali's online, and the more I read, the heavier that guilty feeling got. Because these parents are talking about kids who come home from school and cry, ones who stop wanting to go to school altogether.
What the
And
heck,
I
sister?
started thinking, was I a part of this? So let's
my God.
start with the well-behaved kids. You
Okay.
think they'd be fine, right? They're following the rules. The system should leave them
That's
alone.
just
But here's the
stickers.
sick irony. Teachers naturally focus on the disruptive kids. When a naughty kid finally sits still, that's worth a positive point. It's a big moment. But the quiet kid who's been sitting nicely all day, they just don't get noticed. You get fewer points through sheer invisibility. And then they look at the board and think they're failing. Another child actually managed to work out a hack for Class Dojo, a way to get a guaranteed perfect score. Days where she received 100% positive, I excitedly asked her what made the difference. She explains that she just sits there and doesn't talk all day. Those days she appears sad and expresses that she didn't enjoy school that day. Think about that. An 8-year-old figured out that the only way to win at Class Dojo was to become silent. And on the day she even managed that, which shouldn't be possible for an 8-year-old, she became miserable, the mother added. This system seems to fail at taking into account that these are 8 and 9-year-old children, not robots. Another mum describes her son as learning a
Yep.
similar behavior
okay.
tactic.
Oh.
My son avoids this teacher. Asking a question can lead to a negative
now
mark
skip
for not
the
following
finger.
directions. So
Skip
he does not
the
ask questions
little
and does not allow him to his
background.
potential in
Basically,
this
got my
class. He
background.
tries to survive this experience, and that is not how a classroom should be run. Students make fun of others during breaks that received low marks. Then we need to talk about the gaming of the system. A Mumsnet parent described how her reception-age child figured out the system's perverse incentive. They had noticed that the weekly top star always went to a child that had been doing something naughty for a while, but then it did something good, so they had planned to do something naughty for a while and then be good so that it would finally be their turn. When a 4-year-old can spot the design flaw in your app, mate, no software update is gonna fix that. And the sound. Yes, we need to address the sound directly. Kids are literally out there developing Pavlovian anxiety to the Class Dojo sounds. As this parent says, he got hardwired to do the bing sound, however, and it became a negative experience awaiting the ticks on his avatar. Was it for me? Was it good? Was it bad? He started focusing more on that than his work. Another parent added. He says the noises Class Dojo make are distracting and make it hard for him to stay on task. When students hear the sounds, they look to see who received a positive or negative point. I receive more feedback on my child's behaviour than I do his class work. And some of you watching this were that kid. You were the one sat there doing everything right, watching your score stay flat, while the class clown got praised for finally shutting up for 5 minutes. You know exactly how that's felt. You just never had a word for it. Now we need to talk about the kids who cop it worst. Class Dojo punishes fidgeting, calling out, getting out of your seat, going off task. And that's a list of ADHD systems. If you grew up with ADHD and Class Dojo was in your classroom, the system was essentially docking you points for having a brain that works differently. And if you got diagnosed later in life, which loads of people do, you might be sat here right now realizing that all those negative points you racked up as a kid
this is the
weren't
final
because you were
touch.
naughty. You just hadn't been diagnosed yet.
It should be like kind of the same. The SK is not.
A minute apart. He receives 0 positive reports on a monthly
I think
basis. He is embarrassed,
I'm
thinks
gonna put
his
this
teacher
in.
hates him, or but he himself is dumb for not being able to stay on task. We put him on meds in the hopes that it would help. Another parent added, my son, a straight A student with ADHD, got 44% negative 2 weeks ago, 43% negative 1 week ago, and get this, 100% negative this week. Imagine what this looks like to a child. 100% negative for a straight A student. It's mad, isn't it? And we also need to talk about the racial dimension. Coda Story investigated
bit.
Class Dojo in
There
Jefferson
we go.
County, Kentucky. Moises
And
Valencia,
this is
a
how
single
you
dad, welcomed the app at
my app.
first, but almost
That would
immediately,
take you like
I was getting
19,
notifications
18
that called my son defiant
minutes.
and out of control. It didn't seem like my
Oh
Javi,
my
and yet
goodness,
white teachers couldn't give me specifics, and it was worse because all the other kids saw him being marked down on the projector, which made him want to give up on trying
So
at
you this how
all.
you
He
get it.
even asked the teachers how he could
That's
help. They said
it.
he just needs to not be bad.
I'm just
And now Javi
showing you
thinks
how
he
to
is bad, but he is
get
not.
those.
He is really good. In the same investigation, a
Okay, so
7-year-old black girl got called a racial slur by her classmates.
goodbye.
Understandably, she